it's been about a week, a little over a week since we moved, and trying to fit in this vlog entry into our schedule because it's just been crazy with all the moving and the packing and the unpacking and all the things you have to do at the house here to get it livable again. And yeah, it's just been crazy busy. But I wanted to finish off this two-part vlog and show you guys the finished product of our mobile home that we flipped. So here's some shots of it. So as you can see, it turned out pretty awesome. We're very happy with how everything turned out, and I think we did a great job on it. And I'm so proud of everybody that helped, Kale and Dylan moving stuff, and Karina keeping our house together while we were in the midst of all this renovation hell. And yeah, I think it turned out awesome. And so now I'm just waiting for the kids to get home. We'll do a little reflection on how this whole mobile home flip and living through the renovation was for everybody, because I'm sure everybody's going to have a story. Alright, so we have everybody here. Hello. Kale over there. And we thought we'd just maybe go and, I don't know, tell a story or our experience about how it was living in the mobile home through this whole like renovation. So I don't know, who wants to start?
Mom, I'll start.
Mom's gonna start? Alright.
Yeah, so having to sell our house in Glen Rosa and buy this mobile home was a pretty big blow to my pride, and I felt a lot of guilt about it. We made some bad decisions, and I certainly did more than my share of it. Spent a lot of money at our old house, thinking that this business was just going to be an everlasting source of money, and found ourselves in a position that it wasn't, and all the nice things that I had bought, most of them ended up being sold with the house. So when we went and bought this mobile home, it was really hard to envision it looking anything like it ended up looking like. And I kind of felt like I had let my whole family down, but especially the kids, I think, because they had always had, you know, decent things, and we never really had to worry about money, or at least we lived like we never had to worry about money. And for the very first time, our living circumstances reflected our financial situation. And the mobile home was pretty rough when we had the property inspection. The property inspector called it unlivable, and we didn't have a choice. We had to live in it. So the first couple of months were a pretty big adjustment. There were holes in the floor and holes in the wall. One of the dogs actually fell through a hole in the floor. You could walk down the hall and actually see outside at some points, which was not really a whole lot of fun come November. We had no privacy. Every time you took a step, the whole mobile home trembled. So it was definitely a different living experience than being in a house. There were points in time in the middle of this renovation where the kitchen was in the living room and the living room was out on the porch, and the laundry room could be anywhere from one day to the next. And for somebody like me who deals with a lot of anxiety as it is, my home has always been my safe place. So living in this kind of environment and having it constantly, there wasn't a square inch of this place where you could go to escape the reality of our situation. There was no place to sit safely and pretend that the whole thing wasn't happening. We were hard pressed to even try to keep it clean, because from one moment to the next, everything was covered in sawdust and tools and construction materials, and like drywall leaned up against the wall, because we didn't have a choice. We couldn't even do it one room at a time, because one project was tied into another, tied into another, tied into another. So this was basically just our entire lives, for sure a good year, if not the whole year and a half. The redeeming thing about it is we met some really great people. The park that we lived in was really, really well managed, and we had fantastic neighbors. The kids adjusted, they made friends there, and we found ways to make the best of the situation. So we would be able to walk to restaurants in the area and get away from the house for the night. And the other thing is that has been the most important thing to me is when we were living at our old place, we all had our own space. And the thing was, we were always there in our own space. We weren't really doing a lot together as a family. And I don't think we realized that until we were forced to live in such a small, cramped area. We were in each other's faces and in each other's spaces constantly. So we started really enjoying that, actually, and the conversations we would have, and we would have family game nights and do everything we could to find some laughs in the midst of this misery that we were living in. And I remember when it finally came to an end and we were house hunting, we were looking for the space again, but one of the things that I made sure was that we were still in each other's spaces. We all have our own space here, but we also have areas that are very much common. And for the very first time, when we moved here, I wasn't thinking about everything's going to be so different. I was thinking about all of the lessons that we learned living in that mobile home, everything that we had done without, and I got a really good idea of what we really, really needed in life. And I realized that what we need more than anything is each other. And that was very important to me. This is our second chance at a do-over, and not only are we making completely different financial decisions, but I'm valuing the time that we get to spend together and doing things as a family. So as much as the experience was miserable while it was happening, and we probably would not be able to do it again, there were things about it. It brought us closer together as a family than we had been. We were not on a good path as a family, I don't think. And this has kind of put us back on the same path together. So there's always a silver lining to everything if you're willing to look forward. And that would definitely be the silver lining of this experience.
Yeah, I would agree. It definitely kept us in close quarters, and we kind of were forced to talk to each other, basically. And which I think, like you, it was a great thing. All right, Dylan, what was your memory?
That house was not great. In fact, all of us, I believe,
Do you remember the first time you walked into it?
Oh yeah, the first time I walked into it, I'm like, okay, this must be some sort of dream because this is a terrible, terrible, terrible place. I walked in and I actually had to adjust my stance because the house was tilted at the wrong angle.
It was tilted to the back about 3 or 4, maybe even 6 inches.
Yeah, so
I had to jack up the whole
I
trailer to
remember
get it
Dylan
level.
saying, "Are we actually gonna live in this shithole?"
Yeah.
yeah, and the place was so bad that I think all of us had multiple breakdowns
Oh,
of
for
some
sure.
kind. Like, my first and most significant one came middle of winter. I'm moving flooring out in the dark to one of Dad's vans so that he could take it to the dump. And then all of a sudden I just sit down on the porch and curl up into a ball and start crying because I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
My life was terrible there.
And it felt like it was never going to end.
Yeah, like,
Right.
I didn't see any outcome, like, that would actually be good from this. All I saw was, oh my god, we just need to do this and this and this and this and this, and then it just all piled up and came crashing down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think-
you couldn't see the end in sight at some points in it.
Yeah, I think everybody pretty much had, like you said, Dylan, like everybody
Moments
had
of thinking,
moments of...
this can't be our life.
I know, like, while I'm doing all the renovation stuff, it felt like it was never gonna end, and it was just one job after another, and it was like every day after work, it was brutal.
And more and more and more money. and
Yeah.
more-
Like
there wasn't one thing that was salvageable that we were
like we had a budget that we thought it would cost, and for the most part, I think we did stay around that. But it just...
But it involved doing a lot of bargain shopping and
Yeah.
and buying a lot of used things, and I mean we really did well with that. I can't imagine if we'd had to buy all this stuff brand new and have contractors install it all.
Oh, it would have
there's
been
just
double.
no way.
At least double.
Yeah, it would not have been able. We would not have been able to accomplish what we did, and basically buy ourselves this second chance
Yeah.
at a do-over.
But
Alright.
yeah, there was so much garbage and just stuff that we ended up...
Do you remember how many truckloads and van loads we must have taken to the dump? It was like endless.
Too
Almost every week.
many!
Plus a whole dumpster, like a big, huge dumpster at the beginning.
Remember the alarm clock in the dumpster?
Yeah.
You remember that?
So
Oh,
we
yeah.
threw out an alarm clock into this giant dumpster, and apparently it still had power to it.
Yeah, there was still
So-
some old furniture and
Yeah.
household stuff in the house when we moved in.
The alarm clock ended up going off like constantly.
Multiple
and
times a day.
I was actually recruited by my parents to stab into
Find
the
it.
trash bin
Find it and
with
kill
a
it.
curtain rod. I felt like I was spearfishing.
Yeah,
For an alarm
Dylan would
clock.
climb into the dumpster multiple times and start stabbing because this alarm clock was buried somewhere down at the bottom and we couldn't see it, but we could hear it and it just would not stop. And so we kept trying to kill it and I don't think we finally ever found it until we took that to the
Yeah,
dump
yeah.
and got rid of it.
Tell us about the first night you went to sleep in the mobile home.
Before I say that, same things as Dee, this house sucked. Like, it was horrible. And it even sucked on the first night because me and Dee were sleeping on a mattress in the same room together.
On the floor.
Yes, so I was the first kind of asleep. I kept on hearing mouses everywhere.
Things crawling in the walls and
Yes,
scurrying
so
in
I
the
just
walls.
couldn't sleep, so I ended up just helping my parents work, like, for almost the whole entire night. So, that sucked a lot, same with the house.
Yeah.
Like, there were some parts of the house that I kind of liked because, like, it just was, like, kind of calming to know that this house is coming along and we're making a lot of progress.
Yeah.
And then other parts is just I just gave up almost. It's just, no.
And Kale and I also had the stress of going to school during this whole project. And then I got a job halfway through. So the stress was going through the roof. I'm surprised we made it through this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What parts did you actually end up enjoying about it? Like now, if you had to look back, is there anything that you miss?
Well, I miss all of us being so close, and I didn't miss having only one bathroom.
Yes.
I hated that.
All right, I
It's
think we've
illegal.
all shared our stories here, and now we're in the new house.
Yeah,
Finally,
yeah,
finally.
yeah.
I tried to convince John that we should maybe do this once more before buying a house, because if we improved our financial situation that much with one, imagine what we could have done with two. I'm not going to tell you the words that he used to say no, but it was a hard no.
Yeah,
And
hard
so
no.
here-
I also said no because the emotional strain was too hard.
Yeah.
But again, we weren't going to live in the next one.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it. I had enough 12-hour days for a year.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're in a new house.
And now we get to live back in debt like the rest of the world.
Yeah. And
This house is awesome.
The
yeah,
house is awesome.
it
so
is
awesome.
awesome. Maybe we'll do a couple aerial shots. Just
Do a house
because that's an
tour.
excuse so I can use my drone.
Do a house tour.
And my mutts are happy.
We can't do a
Yeah,
house
and I
tour
mean-
yet. We can't do a house tour yet because it's too not unpacked enough yet. It's been a week of crazy unpacking.
Hi.
Okay, move your head.
But hi.
Thor, are you happy?
All right.
Mr.
So I
Thor.
guess that's it until
And
next
like,
week.
and like John has said, you only show the best stuff, right? And it's easy for us to say, yeah, this house is great. This house has its own set of quirks and,
Oh, yeah, there's tons of
tons of stuff that has to be fixed and is, barely functional. And we'll get there one day at a time. At least there's places to hide in this house to get away from the stuff that's not quite the way we want it to be yet.
Yeah. All right. All right. Till next week when we go to a Pentatonics concert.